The Encounter. It was a cold autumn night in 1975 when I first crossed paths with John Wayne Gacy. I was a young, aspiring journalist, eager to uncover the dark underbelly of suburban Chicago. Gacy had recently made headlines. His jovial facade as a successful contractor and community figure clashed with whispers of disappearances linked to him. Determined to get an interview, I managed to secure a meeting at his home under the guise of wanting to learn about his charity work for local children. His house sat eerily at the end of a cul-de-sac, surrounded by tall trees that swayed ominously in the night breeze. I felt a chill run down my spine as I approached, but my ambition pushed me forward. When I knocked on the door, it swung open with a creak, revealing Gacy himself, a hefty man with a warm smile that sent shivers through me. He greeted me with an unsettling friendliness, inviting me in. The living room was cluttered but charming, filled with memorabilia from his various community activities. A sense of normalcy lingered in the air, yet something felt off. As we chatted, I noticed Gacy's eyes darting around the room, his demeanor shifting subtly. He spoke of his work with children, but there was an intensity in his voice that felt dissonant with the cheerful images on the walls. I asked him about the missing boys, and his expression darkened for a moment. "People can get lost in this world," he said cryptically, leaning in closer, his breath cold and heavy. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, but I pushed on, trying to maintain my composure. As the conversation progressed, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every creak of the old house felt amplified, and I noticed shadows moving in the corners of my vision. Suddenly, Gacy stood up and excused himself, claiming he needed to grab something from the basement. A warning bell rang in my head, but curiosity got the better of me. I decided to follow him, though a sense of dread washed over me as I descended the dimly lit stairs behind him. The basement was dark and musty, filled with old furniture and strange tools that I couldn't identify. I glanced around nervously, my instincts screaming that I needed to leave. But Gacy stood in the shadows, the smile fading from his face as he turned to me. "You know, I do a lot of work down here. Some people don't come back up." The weight of his words hit me like a punch. Panic surged through my veins. I turned to bolt up the stairs, but Gacy's hand shot out, gripping my arm tightly. "Why so hasty?" he hissed, his voice low and menacing. I yanked free and sprinted up the stairs, my heart pounding. I burst through the door and into the living room, desperate to escape. Gacy called after me, his tone shifting to a mockery of concern. "Don't you want to hear about my real work?" I fled the house, adrenaline propelling me forward until I reached my car, frantically locking the doors. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Gacy stood in the doorway, watching me with an unsettling smile, a figure of horror against the fading light. Days later, Gacy was arrested. The truth of his monstrous deeds shocked the world. Disappearances, bodies buried in his backyard. I had narrowly escaped the clutches of a man who wore a mask of normalcy while hiding a darkness that devoured innocence. Even now, I wonder how close I came to being just another forgotten victim in his twisted legacy.